And I am so anxious to talk to our next guest as we welcome back J. Christian Adams, former Department of Justice official in the Civil Rights Division, former election lawyer there as well, author of Injustice, Exposing the Radical Agenda of the Obama Justice Department. Hello, sir. Good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you, Steve.
Appreciate it. All right. I just had Mark O'Mara on. He a week or so ago told me that if he had to pick a number, he'd say 1 out of 10 likelihood that the Justice Department would file civil rights charges against his client. And he said he only says 1 because he never would have thought that second-degree murder charges would have been coming. He stuck by that in our interview today. We've seen Eric Holder come out and say, I know the verdict bothers you, talking to a black audience, and it bothers me too. We heard the prosecutor call him, George Zimmerman, a murderer when asked to give a word that she would associate with George Zimmerman. How unprecedented are those two occurrences, by the way?
Yeah, well, the lawyer has obviously not read my book, so because he would say that it's a lot higher than 1, and actually you got sort of the subtitle right. It's actually called The Racial Agenda. And so the counselor needs to read the book because he will place the odds of his client being indicted a lot higher. This is a racially driven Justice Department. This is a racially driven Attorney General. They are racialists first, radicals second. And it does not surprise me to see that Zimmerman will face the wrath of the Civil Rights Division criminal section, because these are people who are hearing the drumbeats from the mob that originally brought the state charges, and now they're turning to Eric Holder.
All right, so if I had to ask you for a number, or if you had to give me a number, I don't have to ask you, but I will, where would you place that number on a scale from 1 to 10?
I think it's 50-50. I think there is a very good chance that the Holder Justice Department is going to indict George Zimmerman because Eric Holder wants it to happen, because the president wants it to happen. And if we've seen anything from this Justice Department, it's not about justice, it's about racial politics. And they've shown that over and over and over and over and over again, whether it's voter ID, whether it's attacking New York City for hiring, forcing them to hire firefighters who failed the entrance exams because of their skin color, Dayton, Ohio police. I could go on and on and on. This is a Justice Department driven by racial radicalism that has an Attorney General that literally carries around a race card in his pocket. And so the louder the race groups get, the more likely it is that Zimmerman will be prosecuted.
What's a race card in his pocket?
Well, this is how my book starts out. It describes what Eric Holder has carried in his pocket since 1971. He has carried this in his wallet. It is a quote from a Harlem preacher named Samuel Proctor. He first put it in his wallet in 1971, and it says, "Blackness is the common, the most distinguishing characteristic that defines a man." When Holder was asked about what this means to him, why do you keep moving this to every new wallet you get? Holder said, quote, "It means that I'm not the tall U.S. attorney, I'm not the thin U.S. attorney, I am first the black U.S. attorney, and that means I share common cause with the black criminal," unquote. That's a direct quote from Eric Holder that starts my book Injustice out. So this is a man who literally carries a race card that says he carries common cause with the black criminal.
That is frightening, to say the least. We're talking to J. Christian Adams, former Department of Justice official and author of Injustice, Exposing the Racial Agenda of the Obama Justice Department, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And I guess it all started, well, not with Eric Holder, because it started with Eric Holder back when he was the under Janet Reno and among other things, freed the FALN terrorists. But in the Obama administration, in his helm as Director of Justice, it started with changing the direction of that prosecution of the Black Panther who stood at the polling place in Philadelphia, correct?
Yeah, that was my case. I was at the voting
Right,
section.
I know that, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when America got their first taste of the lawlessness and racial policies that were going to follow. That was the first example we had of it, and it's been one after another since then. But That was a case, of course, where the Black Panthers were in front of the polls in Philly. Some of the same jokers who are now calling for George Zimmerman to be prosecuted were defendants in that case. Eric Holder cut them loose. Malik Zulu Shabazz, the radical anti-Semitic lawyer from Howard University, who was the head of the new Black Panthers. Holder dismissed him. Malik Zulu Shabazz has been in Florida. He's the guy who had the rallies last March calling for Zimmerman to be seized off the streets, which, as I've written at PJ Media, is a federal civil rights violation.
That's exactly what I was going to say to you, because I've read that from you, and before I read it from you, I was asking how do they get away with this? How could this not be a crime? How could they not, how could the president not take to the airwaves of the Justice Department and say, you stop this and you're going to be arrested and you're going to be arrested, whatever? Nothing. They could put a bounty out on you or me, and this Justice Department and this president, as long as I guess it's blacks putting out a bounty on whites, will laugh it off.
Bingo. That's exactly what happened. I've written very precisely that when the new Black Panthers offered a bounty on George Zimmerman's head, dead or alive, $10,000, they were violating 18 U.S.C. 245. It's a criminal statute that they now want Holder to charge George Zimmerman with. And that criminal statute says that you cannot deprive people of constitutional rights based on their race. And the Justice Department has many, many, many times advanced what's called a public streets theory. That means George Zimmerman has the freedom to walk around as a free man. And if you're conspiring to have him seized because of his race, because of what he did to a black man, you are violating the federal civil rights laws that Eric Holder enforces. But once again, he's giving Malik Zulu Shabazz of the New Black Panthers a big, giant pass because of who he is.
All right, let me ask you, based on what? You say it's 50-50. If they come back with an indictment here, will they need new evidence? Is it based on the evidence that they already have? They took the unprecedented step of setting up a website, asking people and asking quote-unquote civil rights groups and supporters of Trayvon Martin, if you will, to come up with dirt on Zimmerman. So what do you think they would charge him with? I mean, what would they say he did? He profiled him? I mean, they're going to go back to that?
I'll give you the two statutes, 18 U.S.C. 245. Second statute, 18 U.S.C. 249. 245 and 249. What those laws basically say is anybody who deprives someone of constitutional rights or basically does violence to them because of that person's race is guilty of federal criminal statutes. And what they will say is, and they have to find new evidence that Zimmerman acted with a racial animus. And who knows, maybe they'll get that a sound expert using the vast resources of the FBI to use that audio recording that some people say contains a racial slur.
Right, the C word, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they'll tease that out using more technology than the state ever had available. They'll talk to everybody and their neighbor about George Zimmerman to dig up dirt on him to show racial intent. But don't forget, the pain is in the process. It's not in the conviction.
Right.
Al Sharpton said, we knew this case didn't have merit. We just wanted him to go through the pain of the process. And it's the same way that the mob is now calling for the federal government to do the same thing.
Listen, you, to me, are an American hero. And you need to be heard, and you need to be read, and you need to be out there. And anytime we could have you on, I will call on you often, because you were inside this Justice Department. You were the one who said, if I'm not mistaken, that the law no longer applies to whites who need their civil rights protected. It only goes the other way, goes one way. And we're living in a country where that is a travesty. It is frightening. It is disgusting, and they're getting away with it, and nobody bats an eye in the media for the most part. And you've been a beacon out there, and I'm proud to talk to you, sir.
Anytime, Steve. You just give me a call.
Okay, take care. J. Christian Adams, ladies and gentlemen, and check out the book. I'm sorry I read it